Alright everyone, disclaimer, I've made it clear I'm not a partisan, so me laughing about Hillary Clinton being insane doesn't mean that I'm like a hardline Republican or anything. But you can't help but find this humorous. The DNC now, a bunch of its staffers, when Hillary Clinton came out the last time, like I think 3 days ago, says, oh, the DNC abandoned me once I became the nominee. I got nothing. They were a bankrupt party after 8 years of Obama. They gave me not a penny. I had to You don't know how hard it was to do all that fundraising to try to defeat Orange Hitler. After that, a lot of DNC staffers and figures are like, what the hell are you talking about? We gave you nothing but support. And they did. They rigged the whole primary system just so she could stave off an elderly socialist. She would have had difficulty if the DNC hadn't helped her with that, because they were taking that Bernie Sanders fundraised money and they were putting it into her campaign while she was primarying. So they gave her every benefit. And she didn't exactly have to suck anybody off to get millions of dollars in donations, because she had all the Goldman Sachs and the Merrill Lynches and stuff on board. And the corporate media at her beck and call. Some of these firms, according to the DNC's leaked emails, taking marching orders both from them and from Clinton during the primaries and the general, explicitly offering to suppress news that she didn't like, that would piss her off. This is a woman who has tantrums constantly, who reportedly was absolutely livid when she lost, and drunk apparently, and then came out and even remarked upon the fact that that was the case. Oh yeah, Chardonnay helped with my loss. I can imagine. And on election night, when John Podesta had to come out on stage and say, oh, we're going to announce things tomorrow, I declared that Hillary Clinton had gotten drunk at that time. It was the only explanation. Lo and behold, yeah, it's another thing that came true, but it didn't take a genius to figure that out. She's got a little bit of a bottle reliance that's fairly well known, but not spoken of too much in polite company, I guess. But she's strangulating the Democratic Party because she keeps putting the limelight back on herself as the also ran. And here's the big problem. The Democratic Party, at some point, is probably going to have to explicitly tell her, you need to stop. You need to stop talking publicly about this shit, trying to justify yourself. You're making the party look bad. You need to grow up and stop whining. Find something else to do. Start a new charity. Expand your charity. Go lobby the Saudis like you've done for years. Do something like that. Go get more money and fame all you want, but leave our name out of it, because, we've got to get other Democrats to the fore, and that's what this is really about. Keep this in mind. Hillary Clinton was the last candidate to run for the Democratic Party. 2016 election, she's the one running against Donald Trump and loses. She will not be the candidate in 2020, but she's the only significantly visible Democrat with full, nationwide name recognition. There is no leadership system currently in the DNC. The only other person that would qualify is Sanders, who has left the Democratic Party and gone back to independent status, who is, I think, more pissed off than he shows in public. He has the good sense not to get the entire Democratic apparatus down on his neck, but at the same time, you can tell he wasn't too happy about what the DNC did to him during the primaries, even if he's too cowardly to speak about it in public and say, oh yeah, I was screwed, because clearly he was, and all of his fans know it, and people who were on the sidelines who didn't support him, we also know it too. I never would have voted for Sanders, but he got screwed. The DNC screwed him. He won't even talk about that fact. Comes out and endorses Hillary Clinton. Yeah, 10 fucking Bernie Sanders fans probably ended up switching their loyalty to her when he endorsed. The rest of them were like, oh, well, this was a party. Now it's a funeral. What's the point of voting? Well, they ended up voting for Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, some out of spite for Donald Trump, or they stayed home. The majority of them didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I can tell you that right now. The majority didn't. You look at this state's voting habits. Obama winning by fairly large margins. Clinton comes in, she barely cracks 50%. Now, admittedly, the gap between her vote and Trump's vote was significant. But that's because people weren't voting for Trump and were voting for third-party and independent candidates instead of Hillary Clinton. So, it didn't help her any. I think she was 10 points behind in this state, Sanders State, where Obama was in the midterms. I mean, not in his re-election bid. Not even the first time around when everyone was excited. Oh, change we can believe in. Black president. The next time around, people are more humdrum. There's a lot less of the Obama signs and stuff. I saw very few Clinton signs here. Enthusiasm for that woman was so low here in New England, it was palpable. It was noticeable that the support was low. Same with New Hampshire. She barely ekes out a win there. Obama goes soaring up into the heights. Hillary Clinton, what did she end up winning in in the final tally? What did she win by? Like half a point or two? Some insanely tiny proportion like that. Like New Hampshire is actually a swing state again, as opposed to leans blue. So yeah, Hillary Clinton is strangling the Democrats because she's taking what would be a field that's wide open because you don't have a Democratic president. You've got a relatively weak and reserved head of the DNC. You've got all of these different competing people who could rise to the fore. You've got the Mark Cubans and the Elizabeth Warrens, technically speaking, also the Bernie Sanders. All of these different people who can sort of seize the mantle of the party and redirect it a little bit and build some sort of a platform, put forth a couple of ideas, and nobody's doing that. Because Hillary Clinton is still there, banging her fists on the table. Everyone focuses on her because it's interesting because it's framed on the background of her being defeated by someone with no political experience. That is, talking about Hillary Clinton is funny because she's lost her marbles. She yells and rants and blames everyone else. She seems like she's still technically the leader of the Democratic Party. She is the whiner-in-chief. And it's just a microcosm of what happens in the DNC and the Democratic apparatus in general. The perception of the Democrats right now, largely, except among Democratic partisans. This includes people who are technically on the left somewhere, but not really into the neoliberalism thing, and also not necessarily any declared partisan loyalty. They just happen to overlap more with them on issues. The perception is the Democrats are just whining. All they do is talk about how bad Trump is without putting forth a proposal for their own ideas for the direction of the country. They talk about how Trump's proposals are bad, and they don't counter with their own, other than single payer, which isn't going to happen. California, the Democrats have regressed almost to a state-level party now. You see what's happening with the Paris deal. Look at what's happening. This is important. California with Jerry Brown and New York are pledging at the state level. They're taking initiative where the DNC won't to go by the Paris Accords and sort of get entangled a bit with the agreement. By the way, I have no problem with that. Some blue state wants to fritter away money on a deal that won't actually tackle climate change, won't clean anything up, won't affect emissions from any third world state, including some of the biggest polluters in the world. You go right ahead. You want to raise the tax rate or incur state-level debt to do that? You think that New York and California need to pay a bunch of money to the UN? Go ahead. I don't care if you waste $1 trillion doing that. That's your problem. That's your state. You have to deal. The people of California and New York will have to deal with that. But there you have Democrats that are taking initiative. The next Democrat who runs may very well be someone who has never held a federal office. It might be someone who's been in a gubernatorial position or high-level state legislature somewhere. It might be someone from California or New York who holds a state-level line. That would be a sound prediction. I can't make that yet. I have to see how things shape up over the next couple of years to sort of get a reading on what the Democratic Party is actually going to do. But it looks dire for them. 3-1 in the Senate that they have to win, just to maintain an even balance. No chance of taking back the House. I think more Democratic governors up than Republican governors as well. It could be a wash in the midterms. They could end up losing a substantially greater amount of power than they already lost. They got wiped out on the state level during this last election while losing to Trump. If they also get wiped out in the Senate, it's going to look so bad for them. They'll have to choose someone from a state because they won't have that many people actually left in the Senate to choose from. And I don't think people at this point want to vote for President Jerry Brown or President Terry McAuliffe or something like that. So, yeah, they'd probably have some mayor. They'd have to run Bloomberg or somebody like that. In which case they lose. It would be pretty funny, I suppose. That's really the Democratic Party today. It's so much confusion. You'd think that they could do better. It looks like the Republicans under Romney, where towards the end, he sort of just went off to do nothing and wasn't even visible when he was running against Obama. That's what the Democrats look like. They have no real guidance. The Republicans were in danger of having the same thing happen when Obama won re-election. All they did was stonewall Obama's proposals, planted their feet and cried and whined. Only the fact that they actually had Congress under their control allowed them to do that. The Democrats don't even have that. Their alienation level is way higher. But Trump comes, and for better or for worse, overhauls the party platform, away from some of the moral laws, away from some of the interventionism, towards something that more closely resembles sanity. I think that's what I said, his mild reform. The Democrats need someone to force them to overhaul their platform, but because of the big money politicking that they have in swing, you'd probably would need a self-made Trumpite sort of individual. You would need somebody like a Mark Cuban who would come from outside of the political structure, self-fund, not be reliant on the corporations, and wean the Democrats off. By the way, that would probably improve the party's platform to a degree where they would be arguably worth voting for. No, all hope is not lost for the Democratic Party. They can take up whatever fucking platform they want. They could adopt populism. They could become a national socialist movement if they wanted to. It's just a matter of the money within the political structure controlling and strangulating it. Clinton is a symbol of this. Clinton is the premier big money candidate of all political history in this country. She were over $1 billion raised just from these corporations and banks that she was taking money from. Goldman Sachs $100,000 a plate dinners and things like that. Meanwhile, her opponent didn't bother to solicit their money and was just out there holding rallies where he made certain incoherent statements that people happened to love, some of which were a bit tongue-in-cheek, and I analyzed those, and now people pretend that they're mad that references that he made that were more cryptic, that they interpreted them incorrectly. I think he's doing fine. He's not doing a great job, but he's doing a better job than Obama or Bush did. He looks great by comparison to them. You know, it's not really a high bar, but at least he is sane. His opponents, who are dwindling in number, it seems, and just sort of, they just throw up their hands and give up. They're just so jaded that they don't even want to talk about politics anymore. It's almost not really kind of funny because, you know, these are the people, they say off-the-wall things. Usually you can count on them to give a really weird debate, talk about weird shit, and it's amusing. They're not doing that as much anymore. Like, the outrage is beginning to wear off for the most part. Trump has to keep constantly saying weird shit in order to get them outraged, just so there's something newsworthy to talk about. Because otherwise the corporate media would really love to ignore him, probably, and act like he never makes public appearances and he's become a hermit. They love to do that. Trump, of course, has Twitter, so it's problematic for them to do so. But yeah, Hillary Clinton is strangling the DNC, and the DNC's pissed off at her. They're responding. Finally, they get angry enough to say, okay, Clinton, go do something else. Yes, we know that you're sad you lost the election. Yes, terrible. Trump is the president. Oh my God, Donald Trump. Horrible. The terrible things. Real problem. But you're not helping, so go away. Go off to the sidelines or something. And of course, she might lash back out, say, oh, see, look at these evil sexist pigs running the DNC. We need a women's-only Democratic Party. You know, one that's also run by Sharia law or something, probably. That's about all. Peace out.